So we just wrapped up one of my boys' speaking events, Nav Deep, and essentially the whole event, what it was about was him helping people get on stage, spread their message, helping them get TEDx talks. He's been on one himself and so on and so forth. And it's very interesting. It's very interesting to observe when people truly are ready to make a change. Because there's a lot of people who say they want to make a change, but they're not ready for it. And at this very event in particular, a lady came up to me at the end and she was asking me and another person next to me, because she knows that we're both coaches, and she was asking me about one of her male friends and advice on how to actually get him to change. And that's when, you know, we're having the dialogue, the back and forth and the understanding. But ultimately what I told her at the end of all the bits of advice and calibration was like, look, everyone has their own journey to run. Okay, so you have to be extremely aware at what stage this person is at, because there's people who say they want change, but they're not truly ready to make the change. But then there's people who they are just waiting for the right piece of information. They're searching for it, right? And you have to be extremely mindful for that person and what stage they're at in their journey before giving advice and so on and so forth. And it's also the same with us. Like, there's times where I'm not ready to make a certain change. Like, I'm not mentally in that place. I get clients who come to me who are extremely ready and they're good to go when it comes to fitness results. But then I have people who come to me, say they want it, and by the time we have the conversation, they're actually not ready to commit, right? They thought they wanted it. And my sister is a perfect example. Like, in my family, not many people are actually in shape. I'm the only one who's actually in shape in my family. And my sister has, you know, wanted to get in shape more. Well, not necessarily at that point in time, but my mum wanted her to start getting into her fitness journey and was always trying to force her to and push her to do it. But I always just on my behalf made sure that I was being the best role model to her, right? So that when that time came to where she was ready to make the change, she could look at me as an example, because I was doing my part. And that's a big part as well with whatever it is that you want to do. If you want to impact people, if you want to help people, if you want to influence people, or maybe you just want to influence yourself, is like, you have to be the part. You have to do the part. So when it came to my sister, as an example, she would watch me, she would see that I had just always been on point with my workouts, with my food, and everything that I did was actually in support of a healthy lifestyle because I loved how it made me feel. She would naturally start picking that up herself, but she would decide on her own behalf. I never told her, I led by example. And that's the biggest thing. When it comes to really helping people around you, the best thing you can do is lead by example. And then when they're ready, they come to you and they're receptive. It's like one of the biggest things, especially in any space of coaching or just helping people around you. And there's too many people nowadays who talk, this is how you should do it, this is how you should do it, but they don't do it themselves, or they don't have the results to back it up. So there's a lot of talk, but people look at your actions. People look at what you are doing. Right? And that's why there's so many things online when you look at, I can help you become a millionaire or whatever it is, but there's no proof. So we're not going to listen to you. And there's a lot of skepticism floating around now because of that. So we look at what you do, not what you say, right? So the biggest thing is, if we can reflect this back to ourselves, and let's say the experience at Nav Deep's event, right? Which is, if you are going to give advice, and if you want to have a say, or if you say that you are going to accomplish these goals, you're better off, instead of talking, just doing the things until you get it, and you're going to show them. Okay, and by the way, I didn't mean that in regards to Nav Deep himself personally, because he's done the stuff. But I'm talking about in general, rather than saying, oh yeah, like this is what you should do or shouldn't do, don't give unsolicited advice. Because even if it's true advice, people will not take it seriously from you. And you could even say, for example, in my personal situations, if there was anything, I'd always say, look, I'm not the guy What I have heard is this, but I suggest you do your own research, right? Because I understand that if I'm not living proof, I don't know. And I'm not leading by example, so it's not going to hit the same. And going back to that conversation, she was asking me about this guy. He lost his spark and she doesn't know how to help. Like, she wants to help him, but he gets offended. And I'm like, look, like, ultimately you got to ask him what he even wants in the first place. Does he want advice? Is he ready for it? Or were you just giving unsolicited advice that hurt his ego? And she's like, oh, that's actually so true, right? So first of all, always make sure that if you are going to give advice, you're giving it advice to people when they're ready to hear it. And you are a great role model and leader of the advice that you are giving. And when it comes to yourself and the goals that you've set and the things that you get your validation off of in regards to, this is what I'm going to do, is just show it. Don't try to push it and say it, and show it. There's a concept that that book Conversations of God talks about. In life, we start with the knowing we can accomplish something, okay? But then the magic is in the experiencing of that. And then the third is the being, which you just simply are, right? Sure, we all know we can do some things, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything until we experience it and we can feel that, and then we simply are. So it's all lays in that experiencing portion of it, which is what is holding you back from actually experiencing it. And that's where all this shit comes up. I'm scared of this, I'm scared of that, and you've got to work through that. All right? So rather than just, oh, I know I can do this, I know I can do that, and talking about it, go through the process of getting out of your own way and experiencing. That's what we're here for. We're here to experience. So learn to work through your own fears, your own limiting beliefs. Get out of your own way and realize that anything and everything is possible. But just don't be that motherfucker who always talks shit and does nothing. Because people look at you and they recognize you. They know what you're doing. They see through you. Like I said, we're at a time now more than ever where people are more skeptical than ever and they can sniff you out. So if you're not leading by example, you're not acting, you're not showing, you're not doing and experiencing, I suggest focus on that until you simply can show that you are.